I'm Heather Jenkins from Hand to Mind. Welcome to our Teach at Home curriculum. This is the 5th grade, Week 8, Day 2 literacy video. So I'm not going to hide it anymore. I love reading comic books. I am a superhero fanatic. You know, my favorite part in the comic book is when the good guy or the superhero is getting ready to fight and defeat the villain, and all of a sudden you see pow, bang, crash, and finally, the good guy or superhero wins. You know, some of those words I said, like pow and crash, are examples of something called onomatopoeia. Today, we're going to learn all about onomatopoeia. If you've ever read a comic book, chances are you've come across onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia are words that sound like or make you think of certain sounds. So, if you've ever been reading a story about your favorite superhero and all of a sudden you see crash, boom, snap, these are all examples of onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia connects the text to the reader's senses. It helps make the reader feel like they are experiencing the sound in the text. For example, if we have the sentence, Joe ate his soup. This is a perfectly good sentence, but there's really nothing special about it. All I know is that Joe is eating, and he's eating his soup. But if I have this sentence, Joe slurped his soup, the word slurped gives me an idea of what it sounded like when Joe was eating his soup. You can almost hear the sound of somebody slurping or sipping the soup off of their spoon. Slurped would be an example of onomatopoeia. Now we're going to read some sentences and see if we can identify examples of onomatopoeia. Let's look at our first sentence. Read the sentence as I read it out loud. The leaves crunched under my feet as I walked through the lonely forest. Do you see an example of onomatopoeia in this sentence? Point to it in the sentence. When I read this sentence, I notice one word that really helps me think about the sound that I would be experiencing as I'm walking through the forest. The word crunched is an example of onomatopoeia. It tells me about the sound that I would hear as I walked over leaves in the forest. When leaves are dry and they're on the ground in the fall, and you walk over top of them, they make a crunching sound. So the word crunched makes me think of this sound. Let's look at another sentence. Read the sentence as I read it out loud. Greg ran back towards center court as the ball he shot swished through the net. Do you see an example of onomatopoeia in this sentence? Point to it on the screen. When I read this sentence, there's one word that makes me think of a sound that a basketball makes when it goes through the net. The word swished. When I read this word, I can almost hear the swish sound of the ball going through the net on a basketball hoop. Swished is an example of onomatopoeia. Let's look at our last sentence. Read the sentence as I read it out loud. Boom! The thunder roared as the lightning crackled in the sky. Do you see an example of onomatopoeia in this sentence? Point to it on the screen. When I read this sentence, I actually see two examples of onomatopoeia. First, I see the word boom, which makes me think of the sound of thunder during a storm. I also see the word crackled, and when lightning strikes in the sky, a lot of times you hear a crack or a crackling sound. So, both boom and crackled are examples of onomatopoeia. Now, let's play a game. This is called Spin a Sentence. I'm going to spin the wheel, and we're going to get a word that is an example of onomatopoeia. Then, your job is to use the word in a sentence. So let's spin the wheel. And stop. Our word is tick. Tick, tick, tick. Now, I'm going to give you 15 seconds on a countdown timer, and I want you to think of or write a sentence that uses the word tick as an onomatopoeia. Ready, set, go. Time's up. I'd like to share the sentence that I wrote. I thought that the word tick really sounded like a clock that's ticking away. So I wrote the sentence, tick, tick, tick. The clock slowly ticked away the seconds until the bell rang. Now, let's see if we can write another sentence using onomatopoeia. Let's spin our wheel. And stop. We got the word drip. Now, I'm going to give you 15 seconds on a countdown timer, and I want you to write or think of a sentence that uses drip as an onomatopoeia. Ready, set, go! Time's up. I'd like to share the sentence that I wrote. When I thought of the word drip, I thought that that word reminded me of the sound of water dripping out of a faucet or hose. So I wrote the sentence, the constant drip of the faucet was all I heard in the otherwise quiet room. Now, let's write one more sentence. Let's spin our wheel. And stop. We got the word splash. All right, I'm going to give you 15 seconds on a countdown timer, and I want you to write or think of a sentence that uses the word splash as an onomatopoeia. Ready, set, go! Time's up. I'd like to share the sentence that I wrote. When I heard the word splash, I thought about playing at the pool and splashing water around. So I wrote the sentence, splash. I hit the water after doing a cannonball off the diving board. Splash makes me think of the sound that the water makes when you do a dive off the diving board and you hit the water and the water goes everywhere and splashes around. You did a great job with today's lesson. Thank you for watching this video about onomatopoeia. If you would like to practice using and identifying onomatopoeia, please visit our website where you can download, print, and complete additional activities. Have a great day!